Hello, and welcome to this week's Movie Math, where, like a fighter jet blasting off at the box office, classic Hollywood was saved by a real-life superhero, Mr. Tom Cruise. Yes, old-school movie stars, non-comic book movies, and Paramount Studios came screaming back to life this Memorial Day weekend, unseating Disney's Pirates 3. It was a squeaker, but they did it to set a new record for the holiday weekend. A victory which must have tasted oh so sweet to Paramount, as Disney has bought up most of their big franchises, including even James Cameron, who directed Paramount and one of the world's biggest movies to date, Titanic. And Universal took DreamWorks, although I think Paramount broke up with them and then DreamWorks got together with them, but that's got to sting a little bit too. Especially with word that, Shrek might be coming back. But anyway, all Paramount has left right now is Transformers, Tom Cruise, and new deals with John Krasinski, which has spun out of the Quiet Place movies. They're not only making more of those, but John Krasinski has an overall deal at the studio. Paramount has always, there's a famous photo of Paramount movies, movie stars in front of Paramount. Paramount has been, movie star centric. I mean, all the studios are to a degree, but, Paramount has that magic of their lot and their history. So they're trying to find some new ones in addition to Tom Cruise. So John Krasinski and Ryan Reynolds recently signed a deal that he actually made with the Fox brass that he had a very good relationship with prior to Disney purchasing that and pushing them out. Well, those Fox executives went to Paramount, brought Ryan Reynolds with them, and then the higher-ups at Viacom fired the Fox brass from Paramount to bring in executives with more digital experience, when that was all the rage in Hollywood just a few months ago, to try and make Paramount Plus a more seamless part of what was once called the Viacom empire, but now has been renamed Paramount for better brand recognition across the board. And yet, ironically, Tom Cruise refused to let Top Gun Maverick go to digital in any capacity and held the movie for 2 years instead during the pandemic, which turned out to be the right move, by the way. But, Paramount Plus, I think, has to some degree struggled where some, Disney Plus and HBO Max are doing better. But Viacom, as I said, is now called Paramount across the board for better branding, because there are rumors in Tinseltown that Paramount wouldn't mind if someone were to purchase them. And with another big franchise like Top Gun now in the stable and Yellowstone on the smaller screen, we're going to talk about moderate conservative audiences in a moment. But maybe someone will. I think Paramount just became that much more attractive as a purchase. So the conversation about Paramount for sale is for another day, potentially, if that happens. I think they're positioned to do that should the opportunity arise. But today, all of Hollywood is celebrating the victory of the little guy against the Goliath that is comic book movies. But Tom Cruise cheated just a little, taking a page from the recent studio playbook that if you can't adapt a comic book, go the nostalgia route, either with an outright sequel, prequel, or requel, or by copying the formula. And on that note, another old school movie star, Sandra Bullock, just pulled The Lost City across the century mark. She did it, even while it's on digital right now, keeping her recent winning streak at the box office alive. She also, like Tom Cruise, is very proactive with her own career and produces most of her own films. We're going to talk about that too in a minute. But Top Gun Maverick is Tom Cruise's first movie to open over $100 million and his first real shot at getting a movie into the $1 billion club, even after decades in the business. But he didn't give up, and look at him now. And he did it off of his own brand instead of joining someone else's, with, of course, rumors of him joining the MCU potentially in the near future. Any movie star on the ropes these days, or even worse, a has-been, should see if they can get the movie or show that put them on the map back in the day, back in the game, and studios will be willing to listen to those pitches now after Top Gun Maverick just made so much money. Tom Cruise is willing to take the risks because he gets all the reward, but studio executives are much more risk averse. Harrison Ford, by the way, will be looking to repeat the same hat trick with Indiana Jones 5, which now hits theaters after being much delayed itself next summer. Hopefully the last Indiana Jones was not good, but still, I think we'd all like to see that franchise come back. And can Tom Cruise use this success to slingshot his next Mission Impossible movies past $800 million, something they've never done, and maybe even get those into the $1 billion club finally? A teaser trailer thrown together from dailies, no one's ever done that before, was shown in front of Top Gun Maverick as Paramount and Tom Cruise have their fingers crossed that Mission Impossible can build on this success, because it's so many of the same people in front of and behind the camera. And sorry, Downton Abbey, but it was Tom Cruise and Top Gun that got older moviegoers back into the theater, as 45% of the audience was over 45 and 21% over 55. But younger moviegoers showed up too, thanks to amazing trailers and the promise of jaw-dropping fighter jet action, which the movie delivered on. And of course, everyone has heard of Top Gun, so it had great, brand recognition. Fantastic Rotten Tomatoes scores, both critic and audience, and a very rare A+ cinema score mean that Top Gun Maverick ain't going nowhere at the box office. Because it's the definition of the type of movie you need to see on the big screen. Premium theaters are making premium dinero, and with no competition next weekend, it could do some real damage at the box office before Universal's Jurassic World Dominion shows up, and maybe even after that, because the review embargo for Jurassic World Dominion lifts the day before release, yet Top Gun Maverick lifted its review embargo weeks in advance to build buzz. Interesting. The male-female split is also good too, pretty close to 50-50. But the one area where Top Gun Maverick has an issue is its diversity demos, where the audience was a stunning 60% Caucasian, 66 for the 3-day. Something we haven't seen since Mary Poppins Returns, the whitest of the white movies. Usually the Caucasian turnout is in the low to mid 40s in terms of what it makes up for the overall group. Yet the movie still made a ton of money, even though it didn't have broad appeal, in terms of, ethnicity. Which means Top Gun Maverick got a lot of people in the middle of the country who don't usually go to the movies to go to the movies. And sure enough, in the top theaters, there were theaters from San Antonio, Nashville, Knoxville, Oklahoma City, 3 in Salt Lake City, Denver, and Dallas. Los Angeles and New York were still in the mix, but much less so. I think there were 3 theaters in LA and just 1 in New York, where usually those coastal cities dominate the top theaters. The industry is saying they haven't seen this kind of mobilization of middle America to the multiplex since American Sniper. So this also reminds me of Yellowstone, also from Paramount, where there's proving that there's untapped gold, rivers of it, with more conservative moviegoers, and maybe you could say moderate moviegoers. Can and will Hollywood try to make more middle-of-the-road movies to tap into all that cash? And still appeal to the coasts, which usually drive the box office. I would say Top Gun did that, but with such low diversity demos, I think that it left a little money on the table. And we'll see if maybe other people come out to see it in the weeks ahead. But I think that without any major roles for diversity, that might have affected the film. And I know some of you will point to its diverse cast, but not in any of the really compelling roles. So, that's a note Tom Cruise should take to heart, because I think his Mission Impossible movies suffer from the same problem. But because they don't have the hoorah military angle, it doesn't mobilize the middle of the country as much as possible. And maybe that's why he has such a hard time getting to a $100 million opening and to the $1 billion club. Interesting. All right, so to be fair, though, Top Gun Maverick also benefited from the movie gods smiling down upon it. Because would it have opened as big if it hadn't played during Memorial Day weekend, where it was able to lean into the holiday theme of honoring military sacrifice? This was the 6th release date for this movie, again pushed so many times because of the pandemic, and none of the other release dates were in May, much less Memorial Day weekend. And Tom Cruise does deserve credit for building himself a nifty little movie factory with top talent like Christopher McQuarrie and Joseph Kosinski. Should he make a Top Gun 3? Cruise has time to decide, as next he's got 2 back-to-back Mission Impossibles with Christopher McQuarrie to focus on first. As for the rest of the top 10, Doctor Strange 2 fell about 50% in its 4th frame and is at $370 domestic so far and $868 worldwide. I still don't see it making $1 billion, but I do think it will just crack $900 million before it hits Disney Plus on June 22nd, when we'll have a watch-along. That's going to be a tough day, though. Why would they drop it on a Wednesday? It makes absolutely no sense. All right, anyway, Disney counter-programmed itself, Doctor Strange 2, and Top Gun Maverick with Fox's The Bob's Burgers movie, which did pretty good at $15 million for a show that nobody talks about yet is still for some reason on the air. And so, as you can see, people went to see the movie. And I think it will be really valuable to the mouse down the line when it drops on Hulu. Downton Abbey, poor Downton Abbey, in its second weekend still hasn't made as much as the first movie did in its opening weekend. And I think that proves that Downton Abbey is probably done. It'll still live on forever with its past episodes and movies. While Everything Everywhere All at Once is almost at 60 million for that film, an indie film like that during a pandemic, that's incredible. Good for that movie. Again, as I've been saying, it's going to be, I think, a big contender during awards season. Over on streaming, the Nielsen charts for the end of April have Ozark dominating with its final season, which dropped that week, with no other original shows coming even close. Moon Knight, though, which has just 5 to Ozark's 44 episodes. Nielsen's weird the way they measure this. But Moon Knight went back up dropped to 4th last week. It's back up to 3rd place, so that's good. While Amazon's Outer Range enjoys its 3rd week in the top 10, with Amazon also benefiting greatly from going after Heartland audiences. They have Reacher. Chris Pratt does most of his work there now, so that's interesting. As for movies, Encanto and Turning Red are still undefeated. Again, what movie will finally unseat them? We'll find out hopefully someday. All right. I do think it will be Chippendale Rescue Rangers. Anyway, as for Netflix's top 10, for just last week, Rebel Wilson is number 1 for the 2nd week in a row with her new movie, followed close behind by 2 other Netflix originals that debuted just last week. And with shows, The Lincoln Lawyer, which was runner-up last week, rises to number 1, passing up Ozark, which has been in the top 10 for Netflix for 11 weeks now. That's incredible. Remember, again, Nielsen is much further behind. And you can see Stranger Things popping into the top 10 there in anticipation of its debut of season 4 just this weekend. Oh, I can't wait to see how that does in the numbers. I think Stranger Things is back, baby. It's incredible. Over on iTunes, Sandra Bullock and Tom Cruise rule here as well, with The Lost City available to rent, recapturing the top spot as a result, and both the original Top Gun, look at that, number 2, and pre-orders of Top Gun Maverick as it's in theaters. People don't want to miss it. They're like, let me just buy it now so it comes into my inbox automatically. It also in the top 10. We haven't seen that, I think, since Spider-Man No Way Home. That's exciting. Exciting stuff. Although I really think it deserves to be seen on the big screen. Fantastic Beasts, which hit HBO Max today as well at no extra cost, is doing pretty good at cost at number 6, its debut there, while Morbius, in just its 2nd weekend on digital, is almost out of the top 10 already. Will this finally give Sony pause with their weird Spider-Man spin-off strategy? As for this coming week, as I said, Hollywood gives another big movie another freebie, as no other big movies want to challenge Top Gun Maverick in just its 2nd weekend. As I said, Fantastic Beasts hits digital and HBO Max today, so you can watch that right now. You can stream it right now if you wish. I think it's a pretty good movie, as I said. I thought Jude Law did incredible work there. And as for new streaming, The Orville goes to Hulu starting Thursday, while on Friday, nothing during the week really, but Friday's big, Amazon drops the first 3 episodes of The Boys Season 3. I've seen the whole season. I got me all the episodes. And I'm going to, the review embargo lifts the day before. And I will be trying to cover that week to week. But I'm curious if there's an audience. Interest was very soft for the last trailer, which surprised me. Amazon drops so Amazon drops that. Physical returns to Apple TV. And then over on Netflix, all their stuff drops on Friday instead of spreading it out across the week. They have another true crime doc this time about an infamous Norwegian policeman turned drug trafficker. While Elsa Pataki sees if she can repeat her husband Chris Hemsworth's success on Netflix that he had with Extraction with her own actioner, Interceptor. And Floor is Lava returns. Can it be as successful as Is It Cake? And that's this week's Movie Math. What have you been watching? What do you plan to watch? And what do you think of Top Gun Maverick's success? And what other movie stars do you think could maybe follow in Tom Cruise's footsteps? Share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.